Is one first ballot Hall of Famer about to shock FFPC drafters with a huge season? What's the best way to zig when all of your fellow Big Gorilla drafters are zagging? And which NFC North running back, I beg your pardon, NFC running back, may have just taken him off your draft board? He might be from the NFC North. Plus, the 17-time FFPC League champion Gary Broad tells us how he's been handling several polarizing players in his FFPC draft so far this season, and so much more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your HSF Hour Extra Reps starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of HSFF Hour Extra Reps, presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, at Eric Balkman on the X. And my co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to get to everything we didn't get to on Wednesday's show, plus the 17-time FFPC League champion Gary Broad dishes on a few players in the NFC North and so many more. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF Hour. Of course, check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Ferrell would love for you to do so at KFFSC.com. Post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFF Hour. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, send them in. We'll try to get to all of the questions that we get via X, emails, and fantasy feedback throughout the show. Thanks to our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce and our producer and mutual friend Rob. I want to remind everybody that the FFPC Main Event not only is paying down 200 spots in the championship round, it is not only paying out $200,000 to being the runner-up, it's paying out $1 million to a single team that wins it this year. $1 million, myffpc.com, $600 off each additional team that you get. You can draft live with us at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas coming up in less than a month. You can also draft from the comfort of your own home or the FFPC app, which is pretty highly rated. Check it out, myffpc.com, for all your main event needs. The main event of the show, as always, is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, KFFSC.com's own Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, good evening, Commissioner.
Hey, buddy, how are you? I think our main event, though, will be our guest tonight.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And I love the fact that he let us know earlier that he is drafting an FFPC main event while coming on and doing the show, and that's going to make for an interesting conversation.
It's
I wonder what round he's in.
I can tell you, because I think I have it in front of me right now. I think we are coming up on the end of the 15th. So it's
okay.
3/4 done. Who are we referring to? We are referring to our guest tonight, the 17-time league winner in the FFPC in a variety of formats. He's here to not only help us work through some of the issues we're having in our own drafts, but he's going to tell us what he's doing perhaps when he's on the clock tonight, finishing up an FFPC main event where he's gunning for $1 million grand prize. Please welcome into the program, Mr. Gary Broad. Gary, good evening, sir. How's the draft treating you so far?
Eric, I can't hear you.
Oh, no. No.
I can hear you, Ferrell, but I can't hear you, Eric.
Can't hear me? Okay, hold on.
What Eric said, Mr. Gary.
I can hear you, Ferrell.
How is the draft treating you so far?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Eric.
Can you hear Ferrell? Can you hear Ferrell? Ferrell?
Let me try if I can do this one again.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, MacBook Pro, speakers.
How about now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear.
Ferrell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can't hear either one of you now.
Oh, no.
I heard Ferrell about a minute and a half ago, but I didn't hear you, Eric.
Oh, God bless America. Okay, so this is we had this worked out prior to the start of the show.
I wish I read lips. I
That's
just
okay.
can't do it.
That's okay. I'm going to text you, Gary.
By the way, we're in round 16.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. I'm going to pop Gary out here briefly and ask him to try something else. It's so funny, Ferrell, because we had this hammered out prior to the start of the show. And
it is a ghost in the machine, Balky.
Yeah, those internet gremlins, I'm telling you. And all right, we're going to try that, and hopefully this will work. But in the meantime, before we get started, I should give you the opportunity. Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, KFFSC.com. Whether you're drafting online or drafting live, now's the time to be drafting with the KFFSC. I got a slew of drafts going on. I'm having a blast. In fact, I don't think I've ever done as many Kentucky drafts as I have this year, and I've been loving it.
And you're enjoying it too.
Yeah.
And you're it's going to add to your success, I think, when you get here, Balky, to Louisville for your main event activity. And you're always great to have in the room. We talked about it on Wednesday night, and I told you that people call in, they want to know if Balky's there. But you've earned you've earned your superstar status by being a great contributor to fantasy football. And I think if anyone is sitting in this chair and is on the screen next to you, they would be apt to agree and quickly echo my remarks. So that's just the way it is, buddy. You're a living legend.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but
I do. So that's why I'm telling you right now. So now you know about it. It won't change any of the way that you move about through the world because you're a humble guy.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that very much so far. I
So far, yeah.
I shouldn't say so far. I was trying to think of something else here as we're efforting right now. We're going to try to get Gary on right now. Gary, can you hear us or no?
I can hear you now.
Oh, wonderful!
Thank God.
I can hear you now.
Wonderful.
I do not have an engineering degree, so
Alexander Graham Bell would be very proud of you, Bob.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, exactly. Okay, guys, let's get into it. And well, number one, Gary, you already said that we're in round 16 of that main event
correct.
right now that you're doing. How do you like your team so far?
I like it so far. Would you like to know a little bit about it?
I will just tell us the highlights. Tell us, maybe, do you have a favorite pick so far?
Favorite picks? No, I don't really have a favorite pick.
Well, I'm going to ask you some quick hitter questions. What draft spot did you occupy?
I got number 3.
Who went in the first round?
Well, who do you think I took?
I'm gonna guess Chase.
That's a very good guess. What's very interesting is that Hampton dropped down to 211.
Oh, wow. After the Mike McDaniel comments about utilizing all 3, apparently, I'm guessing.
Yep, that was it.
So I'm looking at this, not that I want to give away everything here, but this was a Chase Henry start for you tonight?
It was.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Ooh, yeah, some spike. You know what's funny about this? It's very on brand for Gary, for some of the players that we're going to be asking you about tonight, which is, it kind of works out nicely. And let's see, you got another pick coming up. This is so funny. This is the first time, I think I already said this. This is the first time we've ever had somebody draft a main event on the show, but we're not streaming. But we're not streaming it. Like that, because most of the time, people are like, "Oh, I was going to do a draft, but I'll do the show instead." Gary, you are a multitasker. Not only did you figure out the audio issue, but you're drafting and talking with us at the same time. I'm blown away.
I do the best I can.
It's kind of like the way Ronald Reagan used to call baseball Balky. He would make it up, make it a little bit of his own noise. So you switch away because we'll have to let the guests know. But everybody's interested in drafting.
I want to kick things off tonight, guys. Not kick things off. We're 9 minutes into the show already, but I'll do the first email tonight. And Gary, I'm going to let you tackle this first, given that you drafted this player in your main event tonight.
Okay.
This comes to us from Joe in Denver. He says, "Hey, Gary, realistically, What kind of a season are you expecting from George Kittle? I'm paying a much steeper price for him right now than I was a few months ago. And I'm looking at it right now, Gary. You end up getting Kittle in this draft. By the way, if you don't want me to reveal any of this, just let me know. But
No, go right ahead.
You get him in the late 6th as your tight end 1 here. So to answer how would you answer Joe's question? I think you're thinking he's going to have a pretty good season.
I think he's one of the best tight ends in all of football. And I think with the wide receiver problem that they have, that he's going to be a very important player for that team.
Yeah.
And your level of concern coming off the Achilles tear?
From what I've seen, he's looking really, really good. He's moving well. In his training, he's looking solid. I think he's ready to go.
Mm-hmm. He is a player that well, I don't know, Gary. How did because I know you have a few shares of Kittle this year.
Oh, yeah.
Are you drafting him higher now that you've actually seen him out and moving around at 49ers training camp?
Definitely.
Okay. So he's passing the eye test, Ferrell. Does he pass the eye test for you?
I'm anxious to see him. I haven't laid eyes on him much in camp like Gary has, but I like your answer. He's moving well. That's what you look for in veteran players is how they're moving. We talked Wednesday night about how Patrick Mahomes is moving over at Kansas City. All these guys coming back from injury is definitely how they move. My biggest concern about Kittle is that he's asked to do so many things, and I've said this so many times on the show, but he's asked. I think he's one of the best football players in the league, but he's asked to do so many things as a football player that sometimes as a fantasy player, it's a tough draw for him to catch all those balls. But if anyone wants to argue about drafting Kittle at any point in the draft, it won't be me. You kind of throw out the list and the tiers and the ratings for this player. If he's your guy, go get him. There's no better definition of getting your guys than if George Kittle is one of your guys.
We're not that far removed from him being a top 3 tight end choice in the FFPC, and now he's tight end 10. Gary gets him tonight at the 6'10" as tight end 9. In the FFPC Big Gorilla, you're looking at ADP of 705 for Kittle, right after Laporta and likely right ahead of Kelsey and Goddard. If you want to play in the FFPC Big Gorilla, check it out at myffpc.com. $1 million grand prize. 800 people get paid in the championship round alone. A $150,000 runner-up grand prize. Remember that 7 Bananas promo that's going on. For more information on that, myffpc.com, and $50 off every third team that you get. Play for $1 million, draft for $1 million tonight with the Big Gorilla and all weekend long at myffpc.com. That is the Kittle discussion. I drafted him back at the Super Sunday, Ferrell, the event that you put on just outside Louisville, and I was drafting him like in the round 14, round 15 as a backup tight end, right? And I'm very excited about that. And now I see where he's going in the top 10 tight ends. Never doubt a Kittle. That's I think the lesson.
Yeah, that's
never doubt a Kittle. You never doubt an Iowa tight end. You never doubt a Kittle. So certainly good news there. As we are seeing, I saw that video. Gary, you probably saw the same video of him like kind of running like this agility drill.
The cones. He's running the cones.
Yeah. Boy, he like looked great. And like it wasn't one of those things where you look at it and you're like, oh, this is just some drill. He looked like he was cutting really good. He looked super spry and explosive. He didn't look like he was 33 years old or coming off a serious leg injury.
Well, I think the problem with Kittle is that he plays so hard. He doesn't go out of bounds. He'd rather try to run you over, right? And he gets hurt a little bit more. So you have to back him up with a good tight end.
And he plays hurt.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And you've got a good tight end to back him up with.
Probably one of the best of all times.
You have essentially tonight. So, Gary, we are now in your main event. We're in round 18. You have 2 tight ends, and they're both first ballot Hall of Famers. And you could
not bad.
Yeah, not bad indeed. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you go Kittle and Kelsey here because there's a lot of people that would want, and I say it all the time, Gary, it's a young man's game, right? But Kittle and Kelsey might be due from, and I've said this all offseason too. People are probably sick of me saying it. look at the stats that Kelsey put up last year and don't look at the name, and you probably want to have that guy on your team this year. So certainly, you wait until the 6th round to draft a tight end, but then you get 2 pretty good ones in the 6th and the 18th, or 6th and the 8th, and 2 top 13 tight ends on your roster. So congratulations. You got to like that.
Well, you look at a guy like Tyler Warren. He's going 3rd, 4th round.
Yeah.
He had 48 receptions and 4 touchdowns for the whole year. And then you're letting a guy like Kelsey had 82 receptions and 5 or 6 touchdowns, and he's going 5 rounds later.
It's an ageist thing. It's an absolute ageist thing. And I'm guilty of it too, by the way. Like I will now. I don't know if I want to pay the premium on Warren rather than getting Kittle or Kelsey a few rounds later. But I in a vacuum, I'm always going to choose the younger guy, but I usually choose the younger guy as a tiebreaker when you consider draft capital and what you invested into these guys. It makes more sense. And
guys, the personal success from marital bliss could propel him to incredible numbers.
100%. We move on to our next email tonight, and ironically, it's another player that Gary drafted in his main event. This comes to us from Al in Columbia, South Carolina. With so many drafters waiting on quarterback this year, should I just ambush him with Josh Allen and figure out the rest of my roster as I go? Thank you. That is Al in Columbia, South Carolina. I feel like I'm preaching to the converted, or at least Al is here, as you go with Josh Allen at the end of the 4th round tonight, Gary.
I thought that was a miracle. Normally goes in the 3rd round, maybe early 4th. Yep. And again, at 10 in round 4 is kind of shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he can outscore the number 12 quarterback by 100 points. And if you can get a player like that who can do something like that, and everyone else is waiting, you can make up for it in between rounds.
His 14 touchdowns last year were not an outlier. I think he did 500 yards and 12 or more touchdowns. It's just a dominant player, and he's dependent on those red zone carries, but he's got a huge reliable floor. New weapons, DJ Moore, 4,000 yards passing. You've got to. Let me ask you, Gary, when you go that early for quarterback, and you didn't. This is as late as I've seen him go. So congratulations to you. Do you adjust your draft on the fly? This is not a slow draft. This is a live, fast draft with what kind of between each round, Balky? Between each pick, 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah.
1 minute clock. What changes when you look at Allen there? You didn't expect him there. How do you start approaching the draft 5, 6, 7? What are you doing different?
It depends on what you did in. It depends on what you did in 1, 2, 3.
Right.
If you have 2 receivers or 2 running backs, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and you're on plan there. You're on plan there. What I'm seeing, what I'm guessing from what you're saying is that you went quarterback in the 4th round, so you waited on tight end, but you still got tight ends with 3rd and 4th round production possibilities. Some of the top tight ends in the business. So congratulations on being able to pair those players.
Well, you hope they have 1 more year left, right?
Yeah.
One big year, and
we'll be saying the same thing about them next year.
That's a possibility, yes.
Yeah. I should bring this up. Ferrell, you are 100% correct. If I look at the Big Gorilla ADP over the last 2 days, the latest Josh Allen has gone 410, which is where Gary got him in the main event tonight. If we flip it over to the Baby Gorilla, the latest he's gone, the 405, which is a massive value that Gary got from him tonight. What is the Baby Gorilla? It's an inaugural contest that we offer with the FFPC this year. Same exact format as the Big Gorilla, just $125 to enter. You can still win a $100,000 grand prize. You're managing your teams. You're placing your blind bids. You're setting your lineups there. If you ever wanted to try high stakes fantasy football and the barrier was too big, enter the Baby Gorilla. This is your gateway to winning a 6-figure grand prize playing in a national tournament at myffpc.com. Like Gary is, you're coming up on your 18th round pick here, Gary, I think. It looks like it. Or did you already you already made it?
I just took Pittsburgh, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the Steel City, the defense is going to be on Gary's team this year. The other thing I'll just bring up before we put a button on this Josh Allen discussion, Gary, last year, elite tight ends went high, right? And most of the time, or for most of them, with the exception of maybe Allen, we kind of got let down with those elite quarterbacks. Like Lamar Jackson got hurt. Jaden Daniels got hurt. A lot of these guys, Jalen Hurts obviously got Kevin Patullo in Philly. So there's a lot of these quarterbacks, and I think that is what's causing people to draft quarterbacks later and later, playing quarterback chicken. Whereas if we get a bounce back where the elite quarterbacks are going to be great this year, then man, I mean, we can't be prisoners of the moment. And I don't think you were tonight by getting Allen early. The temptation is to let him slide, but you went out and got your guy.
Well, he's number one. He's the best athletic quarterback in the league by far.
Yeah.
You got to pay for that a little bit.
And I think we might see a bounce back with the elite quarterbacks this year too. That might have people regretting passing on Daniels, Jackson, and the aforementioned Josh Allen. All right, let's go to another email here, and it is from Ken in Chicago. Okay. I've noticed that DK Metcalf is slipping in some of my baby gorillas lately. Any reason why that is that you can see? And is he a guy I should be drafting right now as a result? That is Ken in Chicago. Okay, Ken, let's put this to the test. So I'm looking at the baby gorilla right now. I see DK Metcalf being drafted as wide receiver 35 at the 708. That is after Harrison. It's after Tyson. It's after Thomas. Gary, is the 708 the spot you want to be in business with DK Metcalf this year? Should we be buying the dip on him?
I believe you should, yes. I think they're planning on moving him around the offense and making him more of a key part of that offense this year. And I think he's worth where he's going in the draft. I don't know if I'd reach for him, but in that area, he's really good.
What I really like about Ken's question is he said some of my baby gorillas.
Yeah.
So, Ken's getting with it. And I think you would want to get a little DK Metcalf. You can't all be Pittman. I mean, I like Pittman better in this offense, but it can't all be. But you can't get them both unless you're going to overpay for one. Because they're both 7th round picks. Is this correct, Balky?
Okay, so are you talking about Metcalf and Pittman?
Yeah, Pittman's hurt right now too.
So Gary, you don't know this, but or maybe you do know this. There is an obsession with Michael Pittman from Ferrell Elliott on this program, and I am adding the team name to my team name list right now, Ferrell. It can't all be Pittman.
It can't all be Pittman.
Which is a fantastic team name. Okay,
so we're wonderful.
So we're looking at Big Gorilla ADP with those top two Pittsburgh receivers with Pittman and Metcalf. I already mentioned Metcalf was wide receiver 35 at the 709. Pittman is wide receiver 38 at the 805. So he's going a little bit after Metcalf right now. The Michael Pittman thing in regards to what he's dealing with right now is interesting because it's a leg injury. Did not practice Monday. I don't know what he's been doing the rest of the week, but I will say this. He did play with a broken back last year, Gary.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He got through the season doing yeoman's work. So we'll see what happens with Pittman. Certainly you want to get him healthy. Are you, until you see something with him back on the field, are you ignoring him?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. So you're still in. You're still in on Pittman.
He's going to miss the first preseason game.
We know
almost everyone does.
Yeah. Walked off under his own power.
Okay, perfect. Excellent to hear in regards to Michael Pittman. Ferrell, where did you weigh in on Metcalf? I mean, I don't know if you would get both Metcalf and Pittman on the same fantasy team, but certainly picking and choosing your spots with one of those guys every so often is probably advantageous.
Best ball, I wouldn't mind stacking them, especially at that 7-8 turn if I'm at the end of it. But I want to. I'm happy having either of those players as my number 3 receiver because I think you'll get number 2 points. I think Pittman is more of a natural for where Rodgers' game is at this point in his career. and the type of offense that they will run. Metcalf could have bigger, more big play potential, but Pittman will deliver with the receptions. And so those guys.
All right. So what I want to do right now, and we didn't get to this on Wednesday, but I'll bring it up because this will be a good segue into the Luther Burden email that we have. But let's macro wide scope this Bears offense. Ben Johnson, God bless him, said earlier this week some interesting comments about what he wants to accomplish with this year's team. This is an interview that was published in The Athletic, Gary. I'll read the quote here from Ben Johnson. It's a lengthy one. I want more than the Super Bowl. I want to have the highest scoring offense ever, which happens to be the 2013 Denver Broncos. I know how many points per game they scored, 37.9, and I want to surpass them. I want shutouts. I want blowouts. Gary, this is what we want to hear. If we could have every NFL coach say this before the start of the season, there's no such thing as a bust anymore. There's no such thing as fades. Everybody is going to return on their draft capital, right? Because everybody's going to be crushing it and putting up huge numbers. So number one, let's just talk about Ben Johnson saying this. Does this make you excited to draft more Bears? Like we had Adam Rylett on Wednesday night, Ferrell, and he talked about how he loaded up in Bears in his pros versus Joes, which I think is a smart thing. But Gary, you see this from Ben Johnson. Are you actually moving up Bears up your draft board now based on what he's saying here?
No, not really, but it's great that he said it.
I think he said that in the interview room when he got hired as well. I don't think this is anything new. I think we've expected that he said this all along.
Yeah, well, he's a great leader. You know,
he is, and obviously the culture's changed there. The people believe in him. They want to play for him. And I'll say this about Ben Johnson. I do think he's a little weird about certain things. But that aside, he comes from Detroit, where this is exactly what they did. Like they would get into shootouts and try to outscore people. If their defense is on fire, Detroit still kept trying to score. We heard it last year when I think it was his first game back against the Lions, and the Lions beat him like 50-20 or something like that. And he was asked about them running up the score, and he's like, no, that's what they do here. And he wasn't offended by it at all because he wants to do the same thing, which is
Hey, Eric, can I take a little break?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to use the restroom. And
all right. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I'll just say this in regards to the Lions and the Bears. We want players on these offenses.
Yeah.
These are the offenses that will make good fantasy teams into great fantasy teams. And there's so many options. Gibbs, Goff, St. Brown, Williams, Laporta. And then you get Loveland and Williams and Swift and Monangai and Odunze and Burden. Like there's so many players on these offenses that if you just did like a team with all Lions and Bears, you probably couldn't pull that off ADP wise, but it would be a formidable team that you could have. So a couple of things that I take away from Ben Johnson saying this. I loved it from a fantasy standpoint. I love to hear this. I love to read it. Right. But, and this is something that I think needs to be pointed out. Last season, Chicago was ranked 9th in points per game. Okay. Just under 26 a game. And 10th in points per offensive snap. If the Bears are going to, up their points per game to 38, which is what they need to do what Ben Johnson is saying, to overtake the Broncos as the highest scoring offense ever, they're going to have to throw a lot. Because the way that he ran the ball last year with Swift and Monangai, that eats up a lot of clock, and you're not going to be able to put up all the points that I think he's hoping for. Which to me, you hear him say this. He's a smart guy. He knows he's going to have to pass more. Maybe this is the signal that we need to be drafting Loveland, Odunze, and Burden here. That this could be with Caleb Williams in year 2 of this Ben Johnson offense. Not that I want to turn this into a Bears show. Adam Hahn is just loving this if he's watching this right now. This could be one of those offenses that we do talk about years from now as this juggernaut. And this might be the signal to get these pass catchers.
And the whole thing about Burden. it bothers me because if it's true, if what they're saying, he's going to miss the entire preseason.
Mhm.
And I think that I've talked a long time about how players between year 1 and year 2 take the biggest jump, make the most improvement. And he's primed for that, perhaps more than any other player. But a situation that exists with a player missing the preseason perhaps brings him back to a slower start. I don't know, but it takes the bloom off Burden a little bit for me, especially when Odunze is there. But Balky, I was taken back to when I was 6 years old, sitting in class when Gary asked the question. And if you had been Sister Claire Joseph, you would have said no, and Gary would have had to remain in his seat. And we could not get, we could never get. It's just, we used to say, are you going to ask her today? And then somebody would have the bravery to do it, with fear of getting shot or spanked or something else. But, you handled that very, very well, Balky. And welcome back, G-Man.
Well, in my defense, I was doing a whole draft.
That is true. Yeah. He just got
drinking a lot of water. And
I get it, man. The time like an hour 40 minutes or whatever. And fresh off of taking Seth McGowan as your final pick, Mr. Irrelevant for your squad here this evening. McGowan over Giddens. Is this the way that you're leaning towards that backup to Jonathan Taylor?
That's what I hear.
Okay.
I hear he's looking really, really good, and it's the last round. The last 3 picks, most of them won't be on your team halfway through the year.
Yeah, and that's why I think you should always swing for the fences, swing for home runs, those last few picks. And like Hurst, I think in the 19th round is a perfect example of that.
Beautiful pick.
Where this guy could be a player, especially if somebody goes down between Godwin and Egbuka's obviously dealing with the toe right now as well. So, yeah, I love the Hurst pick there.
Well, he's 6'4", 195. Those guys are all, 5'10", 5'11"?
Right. Yeah.
End zone target, right? End zone target.
He's complementary to what the other receivers do on that roster. There is a specific role that Hurst is filling for Tampa. Gary, getting back to the Bears, when we were talking about this, you said that you said you weren't necessarily bumping these Bears up after what Ben Johnson said, right? But there is something to say about people who would be excited about this, maybe me. It's one thing to say this. It's a total other thing to try to execute this.
Well, you remember about 3 weeks ago, word came out about Luther Burden.
Yeah.
And he was going in the 7th round, I think. And then they were saying how great he was playing. He jumped up into the 4th round, 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he'll level off probably around 5 or 6. He had that jump, the initial jump, but now the injury came out. He could drop down to the 7th or 8th now.
It's interesting to see where he's going. I'll use the FFPC Best Ball Tournament ADP for what's happened to Burden since his injury. He's fallen out of the top 20. He was consistently going between wide receiver 15 and wide receiver 20. He's wide receiver 22, still going at the 503. I do expect that to fall a little bit more. The longer people go drafting, Gary, without seeing this dude on the field, the further they're going to let him go in drafts right now. But if you feel like he already has bottomed out at the 503, let me introduce you to the FFPC Best Ball Tournament. $400,000 grand prize. It's $100K more for first than we offered last year, and you can draft these teams and forget about it for the entire season. No management whatsoever. $125 gets you in the door. $400,000 grand prize. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that. Talking about Luther Burden here, prior to the injury, Gary, were you already out on him because of how high everybody else had been drafting him?
His location, yeah. I thought it was a little early for him. I think if I could get him 7th, 8th round, I would have grabbed him. But I think 4th, 5th, maybe a little high.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for getting pieces of an offense. Like, I've been trying to get pieces of the Jaguars offense most of this offseason. Bears makes perfect sense to me as well. Obviously, I just mentioned my proclivity for the Lions and how I want to draft a bunch of those players too. But there comes to be a point in the draft where, these guys, while they could be ascendant players, Ferrell, and really make your fantasy season, they're surrounded by so many other talented players. They could fall to the wayside more often than not. Where I'm trying to think of a good example. So let's take Teteroa McMillan, who's going fairly close to Burden right now. McMillan is pretty much the guy on that roster, right? And as the Carolina Panthers offense goes, it's probably going to be due to McMillan. Whereas the Bears could put up 40 and it'd be a Loveland game or an Odunze game or a Swift game, right? And you don't have that in Carolina. So I'm all for getting these pieces of these offenses. But when they get this expensive, I think I'm kind of with Gary, and I'm gonna try to get cheaper pieces and let somebody else take Burden.
And even when you get a more expensive piece, you're often thinking that same way. You get in the mind of the people that are drafting Genty in the first round, and you say, well, he is. And you'll see fantasy players say, well, they don't have anybody else. Well, of course they have somebody else, but they don't have anyone that they're going to continue to feed the ball to, like they did last year. And, I just don't necessarily like that as a first round draft pick. I don't know about your style, Gary, but I like players that are elevated by teammates to be able to deliver successful numbers. And so I'm very much interested in players with great players around them.
Well, good teams, good coaches. That's what makes a good player.
I bring this back to Joe Del Zanero, a.k.a. Baker Boy, longtime FFPC player. He and Dave Gerzak would have long conversations. This is prior to the FFPC starting. And these guys would be drafting against each other. And Dave would bounce, the Dizzle would bounce some topics off of Joe, and he's bringing up, all these players that, are okay. They're talented, but they're playing on really bad offenses. And Joe finally just said to Dave, he's like, Dave, all these guys are talking about, they play on teams that don't score touchdowns. I don't want to draft players who are on teams that don't score touchdowns, right? And maybe so I know Baker Boy is not going to be on Devon Achane or Greg Dulcich or Malik Willis this year because Miami's probably not going to score very many touchdowns. It's something that we can explore. I do want to explore this real quick with you, Gary. I'm looking at your roster that you had drafted tonight. We talked about getting pieces of offenses. I think the Broncos and the Chargers, two of the more fun teams to draft this year. Two of the players that I see, well, I mean, obviously Sutton you got too, but I'm looking at Keaton Mitchell and I'm looking at Jonah Coleman, two guys that I don't want to say they could be league winners, but they could be league winners this year.
Well, I actually got him a little too early, I thought, but I didn't want to risk not getting him.
Which one, Mitchell or Coleman?
Mitchell.
Okay, yeah.
I think they're going to use him a lot in the passing attack. And I don't know if you remember 3 years ago, he was running for Baltimore back then. And he was gaining 8-9 yards a carry. And then he blew out his knee. And, from that kind of surgery, it takes a year and a half to recover. And so I think they're going to get the best of him this year. And now the coach comes out and says, well, we're going to go with who's doing best. Well, we know he's going to be a third down back anyhow. So if he's doing well, he could be possibly a third, fourth round pick that you're getting in the 10th round.
And that's the other thing I would say too is the contingent upside of what if something happens to Hampton, what if something happens to Vidal, and then all of a sudden Mitchell's role. I mean, now you're looking at like a top 10 running back.
He said he's going with a hot hand,
right? But I'm saying like, what if there's instead of 3 hot hands, there's only 2, right? And now you're kind of forced to play Mitchell more if Hampton's out. Right. And that could be and this is all arguments for Keaton Mitchell, who I've drafted in a few spots this year, too.
It sounds like you guys are getting in a little bit of hopium. It makes me think that that picture of that beautiful thoroughbred behind you could be Always Dreaming 2017.
That is actually Buzzards Bay.
Who is it, Gary?
Do you remember Buzzards Bay?
Tell me more about it.
He won the Santa Anita Derby and he won the Oaklawn Handicap.
So you're a horse player.
Actually, I've got a property that I'm involved with out in Lexington called Walmack Farm.
Very good. You need to come visit it when you play here in the KFFSC. And it's a great thing. And it's a beautiful picture, and I wanted to bring attention to it. I love the way you framed it. It's well done. Thank you.
Buzzards Bay retired in July of 2008 with earnings of $1.4 million plus. That is the kind of retirement I'd like to have. Probably need more than that, but when I hang it up, but yeah, certainly an impressive career for Buzzards Bay. Boy, if you told me we were going to get into horse racing tonight and it wasn't like Ferrell telling us a story, I would have said you're crazy. But this is good to know.
He's still alive and out at Walmack Farm.
There you go.
Probably enjoying retirement.
Oh, he sure is.
Yeah, I would imagine that. He is standing. Is he? What do they say? Standing stud? Is that what it is?
No, he's not. He's retired.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. I'm learning so much about horse racing and the siring of horses tonight as well. Did not think we'd get into this. So that was Keaton Mitchell. Let me just put a bow on this. You said Hampton goes at the 211 tonight. You had the opportunity to get him at the 210. Was it because of what McDaniel said that had you shying away from taking Hampton that early?
Yeah, and before all the preseason games, for him to say something like that, it's kind of shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he doesn't like the way Hampton's panning out. Hampton only played 7-8 games last year.
Yeah, he missed a lot of time.
Coaches know more than we do, and so if he says that this early, that kind of scares me away from Hampton.
And I guess the thing too, if he was like a 4th or 5th round pick, I wouldn't care as much. But when people, you got crazy guys who I love, Jim Coventry from RotoWire, but you got him taking him at the 106 or whatever it was in pros versus Joes, and I've seen other people push Hampton up to the mid first. That is really aggressive, and it could work out. Range of outcomes and so on and so forth. Let's talk about the Denver running back that you drafted in this draft, in Jonah Coleman. You got a piece of that Broncos backfield. Now, this is a managed league, so you're going to have to kind of pick your spot and wait till something happens with Harvey or wait till something happens with Dobbins to deploy Coleman.
It's already happening.
With Dobbins?
With Dobbins, yeah.
And if do you envision that Coleman would be like the first and second down guy and Harvey would work in on third downs if Dobbins misses?
With Peyton, you really can't guess what he's going to do.
Yeah.
With running backs, you have no clue. He'll throw
and receivers.
He'll throw.
He's got 3 of them. He's going to use them as his own whims.
Right.
He plays 5 of them.
Yes. Yeah. It's like you guys probably don't follow Division III basketball. But this guy, he doesn't coach anymore, but he coached at Grinnell College, which is in Iowa. And they do this thing called the system where they rotate all 5 players every 90 seconds. And you have to either get a 3 or a layup in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. So they've been very successsul at it. I don't think they've ever won a national title, but they went from like losing 25 games a year to like winning 20 games a year. I saw they actually came to my hometown of Appleton, Wisconsin. They came and played Lawrence University up here. And I watched one of these games, and let me tell you, it is awesome. The final score, some guy, not that game, but like 2 guys on their team had like 40 some points. Another guy had like 30, another guy had 20. And I think one of the guys on their team a few years ago set the NCAA Division III scoring record with like 130 some points in one game. It was absolutely crazy town banana pants. Nobody's coming for the D3 basketball talk. Let's get back to football. I apologize for what I've let us down here. One more email here for you tonight. And I think that this is literally, did we talk about, except for Burden, I think every single email we had was a player you drafted tonight, which is wild. So I know you're going to have an opinion on this, but our final email, Gary, comes to us from Chuck in Boston. With the off-field stuff and the groin injury now with Josh Jacobs, are you just full fading him at this point? That is Chuck in Boston. We appreciate the email, but based on Gary, your main event draft, you are not full fading Josh Jacobs.
Hey, he's going in the 5th round. And
so this guy full fade him and draft him in the 5th. You got to draft him in the 5th then.
You have to.
Yeah.
He the potential for him is extraordinary. 13, 14 rushing touchdowns, 1,200 yards. He's a really good football player.
Well, Gary, let me throw this one at you. I was drafting in the 4th round, and I yet to have a running back, and so Josh Jacobs is my number.
You have to have more than one, but yes,
yes, I yet to have a running back. So he's my number 1 guy. Now, I immediately had buyer's remorse after drafting Jacobs. And I thought, and since drafting him, there's been nothing but bad news coming the way with Jacobs.
Well, what news don't you like so far?
Well, I don't like the, we're talking about potential suspension for Puka Nacua. And I think that's created a conversation for anyone who's got some issues right now in regards to suspensions, and that could be Jacobs. So first of all, there's the opportunity that he may miss time without being, non-football situation, but he might miss some time. The second thing that I don't like about him was the way he finished the season last year. And there is, whereas I will go 100% and draft Derrick Henry every time I get to, there's Father Time is still undefeated. And Balky gives me some faith in Jacobs, and I think no one knows Packers players better than Balky. But I still, I'm not. I just haven't made up my mind. I've got him on this team. I don't think I'll be putting him on others. I guess that's what I'm saying.
He's a great football player.
That's true.
The things that happen off the field, if it gets litigated, it's going to take at least a year to do that.
Yeah.
So
But there's no litigation determination by the NFL. They can suspend outside of the legal.
But they'll usually wait until they drop the charges or they prosecute.
Well, let's hope so. It seems to be a new political reality with some of the with some of the things that the domestic situations that. And I'm very hopeful that it works out for everyone involved, that he doesn't miss time as a player.
Well, you also have to look at the team. If the team was worried about it, they would have found another running back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't.
We think Balky thinks they may
Kareem Hunt.
in Marshall.
I think it would be. Well, yeah. I mean, I have so much to say on this. So
there we go.
So number one, Gary, you're right with how the NFL normally treats this. What gives me a little bit of pause was Schefter coming out of nowhere on McAfee's show earlier this week and saying that that there's stuff going on behind closed doors, that he doesn't have the full story, but he's insinuating he knows that suspensions are being talked about, or God forbid, the commissioner's exempt list with both Nacua and Jacobs. And I'd be much more concerned about Jacobs rather than Nacua about that. I'm with you for the most part. Drew Davenport from Football Guys does a fantastic job covering this. He's been all over this, saying the longer this goes on, I mean, it's been like 2.5 months since this happened, and still no charges have been filed. And the longer this goes on, the more likely that this is, if this is going to be a thing, it's probably going to be in 2027. And oh, by the way, the Packers have an easy out after the 2026 season with Jacobs' contract, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you brought up the running back point. Ferrell, listen, I love Marshawn Lloyd. I hope he does great this year. I can't imagine the Packers in the Super Bowl window that they're in right now would go to war knowing that Jacobs is going to miss significant time, and then this guy, Marshawn Lloyd, who has spent more time in the trainer's room than doctors, is going to be your number one running back. I find that hard to believe.
Balky, Gary and I and all our listeners tonight appreciate your words of golden wisdom, and I will take them to the bank. I will, Gary, I'm going to roll it back and say, I will welcome Josh Jacobs to my teams. I'm not particularly happy with a shallow running back room. So I'll have him on some teams where I have a little bit more running back action. Then that might be the nature of my problem.
The last thing I'll say about the Jacobs thing, and I go back to Bill Huber, who covers the Packers for Sports Illustrated. And if you remember, the Jacobs thing happened shortly after the Terry and Arnold thing with the Lions, right? And what did the Packers do? The Lions cut Arnold, right? After they said they backed him and they believed his story, and then he gets charged, and they're like, all right, you're not a member of the team anymore. What did the Packers do with Jacobs? Not only did they not cut him, not only is he still on the roster, like 2 days later, he was practicing at minicamp. And Bill Huber pointed this out in one of his stories about this. He said, and he's probably a guy that knows more than what he can write. And he said, I have a hard time believing that if the Packers thought that this situation was this serious and this dire, that they would let him back onto the field 2 days after he was released from jail,
Yep.
So that's another thing to consider as well. I think that, yes, range of outcomes, there certainly is a world we can live in that Jacobs gets suspended. Maybe he's on the commissioner's exempt list this year. I think we are much more likely living in a world where the groin injury, as far as just purely from fantasy football goes, the groin injury is much more concerning to Josh Jacobs owners rather than potentially missing time because of, being in jail, being in court, or being suspended by the NFL. That's how I'll leave it with Jacobs.
Good.
I agree.
I'm more satisfied now.
Yes, exactly. One of the things that we always ask everybody on the HSFF Hour on Wednesdays, and I'll ask you on extra reps tonight, Gary. I feel like you're going to give us a player here that we've already talked about because you drafted a lot of players that I noticed you have already drafted so far this season. You drafted a bunch of them tonight as well. Is there one player that you're trying to get on as many squads as possible? And then is there a player that, you sort of want to make sure that you don't have on any of your rosters this year?
Well, I'd love to get Josh Allen on my teams. I'd like to get Kittle on my teams. But late in the draft, the last 3-4 rounds, I try to get Ted Hurst, Ty Johnson, and I like Sam McGowan. They're the shots in the dark.
Why Ty Johnson? Is it the pass catching chops?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think that there's I have gotten caught up in my Ray Davis mania, but I have to remember how the Bills have used these guys when James Cook had left the game. It has been a Ty Johnson show catching the ball. We haven't seen that much from Ray Davis. So something to consider. And then any players that you're going to – Luther Burden obviously is a player at his current price I know you're not going to have. Has there been any other players you've been avoiding? Hampton maybe is another one.
No. I drafted him a bunch of times earlier.
Oh, okay.
Just when the word came out today that McDonald was, it's a 3-headed monster.
Right.
That just shocked the heck out of me.
Yeah. Well,
those are big words.
Yeah, they are.
There's nobody I'm going to say no to, because every draft is different, and you have to adjust to every draft. The draft is the best part of the whole season. And so you want to enjoy it, and you're going to end up with a lot of different players you may not want.
I got to tell you, Gary, the way that you and I think draft very similarly. You I don't want to say you look at the negative. I don't want to say you only look at the positive, because I think you've talked about some things tonight that we have to understand. It's not all rainbows and gumdrops or whatever, that there are negative aspects to these players. But I think by and large, you are looking at the ceiling for a lot of these guys.
Yes.
The George Kittles of the world, the Travis Kelce's of the world, the Josh Allens of the world. Talk about some of these late round guys, Hurst and McGowan and all these other guys. That's the way I like to draft too, where I just I want to draft, these players that could really take me to new heights if they hit their ceiling based on where they're going in draft. You have conviction in your players. You're obviously not afraid to draft the same players over and over again because you believe in those players this year, which I love. So this is fantastic stuff talking with you, because you're really you're not really reinforcing player evaluations for me, but you're reinforcing the way that I draft is a guy who has won, the better part of 24 FFPC high stakes leagues. You're doing it the same way I'm doing it.
Well, Eric, what's the point of the game? Score the most points every week,
score the most points, yeah.
So you want to draft guys who you think can score a lot of points in a week. It's not that difficult.
Yeah,
right.
Baker boy wisdom.
Well, you know whose wisdom that is. That's David Hubbard, who he's come on our shows, Ferrell, several times. And every time I ask him, the first thing he always says, well, why do you want to have me on? I have nothing to say. Just draft good players. That's the best advice. Draft good players. That's a good team name as well.
Well, a lot of people say forget about last year. I don't believe that at all.
No,
I think you look at what they did last year. Yeah.
You don't want to draft last year's team, but you certainly don't want to forget about last year.
No, you do not.
Two different things.
I can't remember who I was reading and talking about this. It might have been JJ Zacharyson, where he did this deep study, him and Brandon Gadula from Late Round. And I hope it was those guys. Otherwise, I'm giving credit where I'm not giving credit. Where
those guys have done some good things.
Well, yeah, they have. And I think one of the things that they said, and maybe it was fantasy points. God, I get them all mixed up. I'm sorry. But they said one of the biggest predictors or most reliable predictors of fantasy success this year is who had fantasy success last year. As simple as it sounds, like the players that were really good last year, by and large, are probably going to be really good this year. The players who were not very good, and obviously injuries play a role in this, but the players who were not very good last year probably going to continue not be very good this year. It's one of the most consistent predictors of fantasy success. So yeah, you got to remember last year. Just another thing that you and I, Gary, are of one mind on this. And you agree to do a show with us while you're drafting a main event team. Kudos to you, sir. I hope you not only win this league, but win the $1 million for doing that. That was awesome. That was
fun to do it. It was a lot of fun.
I wish you the best of luck in all your leagues this year. And we will see you again, hopefully soon, whether that's in Kentucky, whether that's in Las Vegas, or whether it's on this here show. Once again, Gary, I can't thank you enough for being a part of our evening, and enjoy the remainder of drafting season, sir.
It's a pleasure to meet both of you. Thank you for having me on.
Gary. Absolutely. You bet. That is Gary Broad, ladies and gentlemen.
You got to get a Buzzards Bay. You got to get a Buzzards Bay team name in there somehow.
Buzzards Bay, I can add that on.
You got Buzzards Bay could be a definite possibility.
All right, so here's what I'm doing right now. I've added it can't all be Pittman. I'm adding Buzzards Bay, and I'm also adding on, and this is a good one, draft good players. That will be the other one I add on to my tribute to the 2016 FFPC Main Event champion David Hubbard. Draft good players, and I will hopefully, Ferrell, be drafting some very good players in the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. I got a bunch of slows going on, a couple more that are getting ready to start, and of course live drafts going on with the KFFSC, not only in Northern Kentucky, not only in Louisville, but online as well at KFFSC.com.
Balky, we look forward to you and the many players who play in our league just because they can be surrounded by the same walls that you are. You're a great addition to fantasy football, and I appreciate spending my Friday evening with you. And man, I thought Gary reminded me of a couple of players. And we've now found someone that's on Seth McGowan like we've been on since the spring. It surprised me that he was only a 7th round running back, but only 13 running backs drafted in the NFL. It appears that the veteran running backs, it might appear that it's a good sign for them because that's all they want. They've got only 13 rookies through the draft at the running back position. I see our old pal Xavier Leggett is off to a pretty good start. I think I like this player a little more than anyone that I talk to, and I'm rooting for him to do well. It's just a very exciting time of the year. When we talked to Adam on Wednesday, I said, Adam, watch preseason games. He did not seem to respond positively to that. So I'm going to call him and tell him again to watch preseason games. Watching the games is the best way to cure your questions about fantasy football preparation.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I look forward to it. We'll have a bunch of games tomorrow. We've already had some games going on this week as well, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Preseason is here. We should be drafting. Most people are. If you're not, get in the game. KFFSC.com, myffpc.com. Ferrell, this was great. We will talk with you again Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, sir.
You too, my friend.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, joining me tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour Extra Reps Show. I want to thank Ferrell. I want to thank Gary Broad, of course, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and each and every one of you for listening, streaming, watching, downloading. Appreciate it. Okay, so here's what we have coming up. This show will return next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Former FFPC League champ and 2026 Pros vs. Joe's drafter, Griffin Bushell, is going to be joining us for Extra Reps. That'll be a lot of fun. This coming Tuesday, live draft coverage. And this, we do a lot of live draft coverages. You really don't want to miss this one. Why? It's the three Goombas, Aiden LaCorey, Jake Venuti, and Dave Terpoli. And they are covering a live best ball tournament draft that Terp will be drafting. However, Terp will be making his choices based on what the YouTube chat tells him to do. Now, they're still kind of obviously within reason. They're trying to flesh out how they're going to do this, but that is the plan right now, where the YouTube commenters can tell Terp who to draft in the best ball tournament. That is coming up on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, as I mentioned, Ferrell and I will be back at 10 p.m. Eastern with Fantasy Football Masterminds Mike Nazarick, drafted in Pros versus Joes again this year. Very successful FFPC main event player as well. We'll pick his brain on what his plans are to try to win that $1 million this year. And then speaking of live draft coverage, in case you missed it on the Better Sports Network yesterday on FFPC Insider Access, the aforementioned Dave Tripoli and myself were joined by RotoWire's Theo Greminger as he drafted a team in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament, and he did not go by what the commenters on YouTube said. He drafted it of his own volition. You can watch that on the Better Sports Network socials or the FFPC socials. Anywhere you get podcasts, it's out there. And then next, this coming Thursday, we will also have more FFPC Best Ball Tournament draft coverage with, and I think I'm breaking news. I don't think we publicly announced this yet, but the who Rolling Stone dubbed the greatest fantasy football player in the world, Justin Herzig, is actually going to make his return to FFPC Insider Access. He's going to draft a live best ball tournament team that night with yours truly. I mean, obviously won't be drafting with him, but I'll be offering commentary on it. So it's always great for a guy like him from Established to Run, FFN60.com to come on and try to win $400,000 in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament. And then the last thing I'll mention, this past Tuesday night on the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown August edition, the 2016 FFPC Mid Stakes $250,000 champ Mike Kuzma joined me covering a live Big Gorilla draft. First time we ever did a live draft coverage for the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. Really was awesome. We had a lot of good feedback on it. We'll probably do that again coming up next year as well. But great to hear from Kuz, aka Rampage, and he did a great job on Tuesday night. Watch that back anywhere you get your podcasts, including the FFPC YouTube channel. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be this coming Tuesday night for the Three Goombas, Dave Tripoli, drafting a BBT based on what the YouTube commenters say he should do. It's going to be wild. You don't want to miss it. MyFFPC.com is where to register for drafts this weekend. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Yourself.